Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to our weekly updates of the gubernatorial elections, or the governor's races. And there's 7 that I want to talk about today in particular, that I have either new polling information, or I saw something interesting, or a primary happened. So in Kansas, they just had the primary, and this is actually the 2014 election, and I want to highlight general election turnout. Okay, so you had about 870,000 voters total, and in the primaries, if you combine both parties' turnouts, Republicans are only 100,000 votes off of their general election turnout in 2014. And I don't think they're going to lose votes off of that. So Democrats are going to need to really get a lot from the general population. And if we look at polling, Chris Kobach versus Laura Kelly, which is probably going to be the matchup that we're going to see. It shows a Democrat ahead, and this was a Republican pollster from mid-July, but I'm a little skeptical of that poll for a few reasons. It's a Republican state, a fairly deep red state, and Kobach was able to just barely win the primary, and I don't think he's going to lose everyone who voted against him. They're going to look at the Democrat and say, would I prefer a Republican or a Democrat? Well, we're in Kansas, we like our guns, we like God, we're pretty rural, we have a lot of farming. Yeah, the Republican's going to be more in favor of the policies we appreciate, just because it's going to be easier to do that. And even if you look at this, the Republican nominee in 2014 was projected to lose quite a lot in quite a lot of polls, even going back to October the previous year, and it was always a toss-up race. And actually, it looks like in most of the polls, the Democrat was ahead. I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that that trend is going to continue, and that's why I'm going to keep this I'm going to put this in the leans Republican column. So that's why I'm going to do that. Maine, we actually got our first poll from Suffolk University, a very, very reputable pollster. And it was actually it ended earlier this week. And the sample size was 500 with about a 4.5 point margin of error. And it shows Sean Moody and Janet Mills dead even. So I'd love to be able to have this toss-up, but for the sake of accuracy, I'm just going to tilt this to the Democrats, because this is going to be done with plurality voting, not ranked choice, which is really weird, but whatever. So I'm going to tilt that one to the Democrat, and that one to Janet Mills. Now we go to Michigan, which also had their primary, and as you can see, Bill Schwett is not the favorite. Gretchen Whitmer is. And we go up and look at primary turnout. Had just under 1 million for the Republicans, and for the Democrats you had 1.1 million. And that seems reasonable to me. So, in truth, I think it's perfectly okay to keep this as a leans Democrat race. I don't see enough of an advantage to call the race likely Democrat. So we're gonna go to Nevada now, and I think I talked about this poll earlier, and this race should be true toss-up, but since I'm calling all the races, I'm going to tilt this to the Republicans because the Republican has led in 2 of 3 nonpartisan polls. I don't think that's an unreasonable prediction. So now we go to Oregon, where, yeah, we have 2 partisan Republican polls showing Newt Bueller up in Oregon, but we have a nonpartisan poll from a reputable pollster showing a dead even race. So that actually means that these Republican polls, that these internal / partisan polls, aren't inaccurate. And they're recent. I'm not going to flip this, I'm only going to tilt this to the Democrats, but that's a change from last time when it was a leans Democrat. I'm actually willing to say that those partisan polls are maybe not that far off. So I'm tilting this to the Democrats rather than leaning it like I had been previously. And that's a state that Republicans should probably be focusing on because that's one of the few pickup opportunities they have. And then we go to Rhode Island, where another internal poll, another nonpartisan poll, and I looked at it, it looks reasonable based off of what I know of Rhode Island, which is admittedly not a tremendous amount, but it's a reasonable one, and it shows the Democrat with only a very marginal lead, and we have other polls indicating the same thing. With the projected frontrunner of the Republican primary, Alan Fung, over. So I'm going to downgrade Rhode Island to tilt Democrat. Just because this is looking like it's going to be a much closer race. And then we go to Tennessee, where our only poll shows a very tight race, and it's an internal / partisan poll. And of course the primary happened, when did the primary happen in Tennessee? Not too long ago, because I talked about the Senate primary. Republicans dominated in turnout. Now, that should be expected. It's a Republican state, a deep Republican state. 792,000 to 372,000. Tell me where the Democrats make that up. If you honestly think the Democrats can pick this up based off of one poll showing a much narrower lead than you'd expect, especially considering it's a Republican partisan poll, tell me where the Democrats make up that massive gap of 420,000. Where are they making up 420,000 votes? In Tennessee. I'm almost willing to put this into the safe Republican category based off of that. For right now, I'll leave it as likely, just because it's a non-zero chance if Bredesen can help out the Democrat there. What's his name? Carl Dean. If Bredesen and Dean campaign together, I think there's a chance that it would become more competitive. But this is going to be our map for the time being, as of today, and this is what the gubernatorial map will look like in 2019, according to this prediction. States that are obviously up for grabs are Oregon, Nevada, Arizona, Alaska, Colorado, Minnesota, Iowa. I'm going to say Kansas, Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio. I'm going to say Georgia, Florida, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Maine, and that's about it. You could probably make some arguments for places like Tennessee or New Mexico, Pennsylvania. If you're really bold, you might be able to make an argument for Oklahoma because of some of the stuff going down there. But that is what I expect the governor's map to look like in January of next year. And I will see you guys next time. Take it easy. Bye.